Okay, we're just gonna go through this.
Okay. Action.
Hi, I'm Ron Smith,
I'm Guadalupe.
and we're here at the UCLA Labor Center, and which is very close adjacent to MacArthur Park here in Los Angeles. We're here to meet with Ms. Lanita Morris, who is very closely associated with the Black Workers Center. And as part of our interview, as part of our presentation, we'll be doing an interview with her today. So I do appreciate you taking out of your busy schedule, Ms. Morris, to meet with us today. And you did ask me to call you Lanita, so I will do that. And the questions are only 12, and we'll just begin to go into them. And first of all, and I didn't list as one of the questions, but I did want to, I thought of it late, just to basically give us your background and your association with the Black Workers Center.
Okay. So I'm the program manager for the Workers Center, and I actually came to the Labor Center out of community organizing. So I worked for a few years, actually, for 7 years at Scope and Agenda. And so I was a public policy major in college at Occidental. And part of the work that I did there was learning about community organizing. And so I did an internship program during school where I worked at Agenda, learning about community organizing. And then coming out of that program, I actually stayed on as a staff person and stayed there for a few years after. And then got to know a lot about the work of the Labor Center and started to work here too, so that I could focus a little bit more the skills that I knew from organizing and actually sharing that with other folks. So we do that work at the college, at the university. We have a labor workplace studies minor where we teach college students about the history of the labor movement and organizing. And then we also have a lot of work that we do with unionists, so folks who are African American union members, Asian American union members, folks from I used to have a women's leadership school and also a leadership school that's focused for the LGBTQ community. And so we're doing a lot of leadership skills development and giving people that connected to understanding the theories, sort of kind of what you're doing in your class, but something a little shorter version of that. So not as long term, but that's also sort of part of the work that I've been doing here at the Labor Center.
So your involvement with the Black Workers Center came about, I understand that our research has been limited, please understand that, but through the resources on the internet, we were able to obtain at approximately about this time last year, was it, that the building opened, or
the Office of the Black Workers Center?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. And if I had known you were going to take them, we should. You can go by the office actually.
We actually did.
You did, but it was closed. So. Yeah, so we should set up some time.
We can tomorrow.
Oh,
you can.
Their
we'll actually be there tomorrow for a staff meeting in the morning. So, but I know, and the question was how long we've had the set up the Worker Center.
Absolutely.
So right, it's been about a year that the Black Workers Center has been actually.
Is there like an anniversary coming up, or?
Well, I know we formed. So the history of the Workers Center too is that it's sort of it was really born out of the African American Union Leadership School work that we were doing here. So Lola Smallwood-Cuevas is the director of that program and had been working on that for a couple of years before I came on board. So doing this program where we had trained, over 90 African American unionists and staff members about the history of the labor movement, right, as I talked about some of those issues. And so part of that work too was that we did a power analysis with those folks. Just who, so the power analysis is about understanding power relationships, looking at the city of Los Angeles, what are the problems and conditions that we're facing in our communities, in the work that we're doing, so that we understand what are some targets and strategies for us to change those relationships, right? So that we are making progressive change for the folks who need it the most, so that there's more equality, right? And so part of the discussion at the leadership school was that these folks who are part of unions were looking at the problems and conditions of underemployment and high unemployment in the African American community of Los Angeles and want to do something about that. We took, just so that one of those folks who wanted to really get engaged in some activism and so they're folks who are coming out of a union perspective of knowing the worth of a union job, what the benefits that it provides, the stability that it provides for a family, and as it has done historically for the African American community, but how do they bring that, so what you know from your union into your community? And so we're helping to make that connection, right, between labor organizations, community, et cetera.
And I think we're going to get to that question, but
Okay.
definitely you answered the first question that Guadalupe was going to ask, which was briefly describing in your own words the how and why the Black Worker Center was formed. Okay, so we're just going to go down to number 2 and interject Guadalupe and she can.
What is your organization's philosophy?
And what do you mean by philosophy?
What is your let's see, kind of like how is your thought about your organization, like your meaning, like under what kind of significance has your organization?
Okay, your philosophy meaning what type of, let's say, theories or ideologies that basically have formed your overall perspective on, let's say, the need for black workers, for black workers, to what basically has given you the ideas. And if you could put that in a nutshell, that would be pretty much, what basically moves this, this
I mean, I
organization.
think it's, if I understand correctly, then it's, part of the why about what we're formed too is really about, this job crisis that has been happening in that's been affecting the black community for decades, right? And it's something, that we really identify as, in order to really make a change on that, it's really going to be, there needs to be more grassroots organizing, there needs to be more coalition building between the black community and the labor movement in Los Angeles, which is very strong. But so more attention focused to strategic planning and real goals around how do we turn that crisis around to say that the benefits that we're gaining in terms of making sure that working people are lifted out of poverty are going to reach all the communities of Los Angeles. So it's really, we're talking about grassroots action, talking about connecting that to really strong and powerful research and advocacy to make sure that the change is really made. But the people who are really impacted by that are the folks who are leading at the forefront.
Okay, and I think that answers it wonderfully, because now the next question, and like I say, all of these are in front of you here, but what theories or models, as you know, in the organizing arena, there are certain models, theories that influence certain groups, whether it be Marxism, communism, socialism, and social change model, that type of influence. Okay, is there any one particular that you guys sort of gather around or that you've noted? And it's just to follow up on this last part of this question. Okay?
Yeah. I think since we're, not because of that, but as a newer organization, we haven't had a specific conversation, with the workers about subscribing to any particular models. So like you mentioned the examples of Marxism, but I think there's definitely a lot of the elements there that folks that are bringing these people together. A lot of it, I think, too.
They share, because they believe that they should share equally, in what society has to offer.
Right.
So
there's definitely
right, and then
without a
definitely
label
some
on
social
it,
change.
yeah.
The social change is definitely there because there is among the African American community definitely the discrimination, the the situation as it is And I'm going to move on to question number 4, and which is, I think you hinted around it, but what is the long-term goal or goals for the Black Worker Center?
I mean, it's definitely, I talked about, right, the main issue that brought us here is around turning around the job crisis. So having sustainable employment for our community is definitely one of our long-term goals. So on a large scale, and that reaches a broad group of folks. So that, other pieces of our vision too are around just this sustainability of the community, the things that make the community healthy, right? We know it's connected to viable work.
Absolutely.
So that this is really about, that's really what helps families grow and flourish, so that you can give back to your community, that you can have, your neighbor, be in contact with your neighbors and have love within your household, right? And a lot of it goes back to whether you can.
We all know that, financially, if things are somewhat stable, then, you have somewhat of a peace in your house. So.
Right.
So definitely employment plays a big.
Yeah, I know that it's just, right, centered around the dollar, but it's also about how this really, we talk about how the crisis is really tearing away the fabric of our communities, right? So we know a lot of the symptoms that come with, just the single parent households and how folks have been torn apart. That's been going on for a long time since we were brought to this country, right? So we see that still happening today and how it kind of tears apart. So we're also about building community with Black workers in LA, so that seeing that is a really important focus of not just winning jobs, but that actually we're actually building a force that's pulling folks together for the long-term sustainability of the community.
You got me, so, because I do believe that once the employment situation is set, it trickles down to the family, to the community, and pretty much to the nation.
Okay. How does a worker establish membership in the Black Worker Center?
So we don't have a formal membership process right now, so that's another one of our goals for this year is to formalize that. So right now, folks have been participating. So we have a couple of different areas of work, ways that workers participate. So there's the main work is around Black workers in construction. So winning equity, accountability, and transparency, and connection and access to work in the construction industry. Other piece is around Black worker rights. So looking, beyond just one industry, just on how Black workers have been suppressed in the workplace in terms of our just making sure that people have protection on their rights on the job, and access to employment. So discrimination is a major issue. And folks just getting information about work or being connected to good work opportunities, and then actually on the job, we see major barriers in promotion, connection to just really excelling in the workplace, connected to discrimination. So trying to break down some of those barriers. And then the third piece of work is a piece that we call Black Space. So where folks are, it's that community building piece. So how do we just celebrate our culture, celebrate who we are as individuals, but how do we bring that together as a collective? And we think it's really important that we have intentionality around developing a space that does that. So folks are really participating in those 3 areas, kind of, right, where it hasn't been a formal sign me up, but I think, we're working towards that, right, where we have a vision that people will eventually become members.
Okay, and just to piggyback, because I'm ready to get to the next question because it's very interesting. As some organizations go, membership is not established, let's say, until you pay some dues, you might say. You walk in and basically you attend a couple of rallies. Basically, if I'm a new candidate